So when I say toxic or toxic person, or, you know, what does the word toxic actually mean? And I thought a lot about that. And I wanted to come up with a definition, a logical one that made sense, and look maybe for some hallmarks of what would define that word. And the best I can come up with is it's a person who at their current state is caught in a loop of destructive and negative behaviors and actions that not only affect them and cause them distress, but everyone else around them. And here's the important part, they are completely unwilling to change anything about themselves in regards to that. And in fact, if you back one of these toxic people up into a corner, know what you're doing if you do, but if you get one of them in a corner, they'll tell you that. They'll all come out with that. Well, I'm fine the way I am. How many times I heard that? Or, I'm okay with my brand of crazy. That was the last one I heard. But it'll always be an indication that I am not going to change, even though it is obvious something is wrong. And another key point, I think, in identifying toxicity and understanding what it means is a complete, or at least a greatly hindered ability to self-reflect. Now, the least ability they have to self-reflect indicates the degree to which they are toxic. If you're dealing with a completely toxic person, that's why at times they come across as delusional, because they are. If you can't look in at all whatsoever, you're not going to be able to look out and see what's going on either, because you're just going to live in a world of lies, and that's where they live. They live in a world of lies. They detest the truth. Comes the next point. Frequent lying about things that you shouldn't even lie about. That doesn't make sense. Just lying to be lying. But with the narcs and sociopaths, they'll have a reason. It's like a currency. They build up an insurance policy through their lies. I mean, it all comes tumbling down eventually. As they age, the aging narcissist is the most pathetic sight you'll ever see. They really are, because they're still thinking in their mind. They literally think they're still 25, 30 when they could get by and sell their looks, because that was their currency, was their looks and their ability to manipulate upon that. Well, in their mind, they're still there when they're 45, 55, 60 years old. You know how bizarre it is to see a 50-year-old woman literally behave like a 3-year-old on the reg. First of all, at first it doesn't come off as looking like a 3-year-old would behave, because it's just so alien and weird. But once you kind of get your mind wrapped around what these people are doing, you realize that's what they're doing. They're still acting just like they did when they were 2, literally. And the clinical data backs that up. Not that that's the end-all be-all of anything, but it's there. In fact, that's the roots of it. They didn't separate from mother. Psychologically, they did not separate from mother when they were 2, 3 years old. So when a child, when a mother is pregnant, a child is born, the first 2 years, the child does not understand that it is a separate entity from the mother, okay? When a healthy kid in a healthy environment gets to about 2 or 3 years old, they start having, you notice they have separation anxiety, right? Well, that's because psychologically they're separated. They're realizing that they're their own person. They're a separate being, and it's causing them distress. Well, these people are born, so it's believed, are born out of that crucial period going wrong. They were, generally it's neglect, is from the data that I can gather. It's just being ignored. You want to screw a kid up, you don't have to abuse him, just ignore him. Just ignore him or her. In fact, one of the cruelest forms of abuse, in my opinion, and my wide array of experience, is the silent treatment. It is very, very cruel to do a person like that, But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I was just thinking of what does it exactly mean to be toxic? Because if you want to live in this world with any peace, you've got to identify it. You got to identify it quick. And not only on the outside, but on the inside too. You got to self-reflect Am I being toxic? That's what I had to ask myself. Before I really started getting better, I had to ask myself, what role did I play in this? Even little small decisions, how did they affect where I am in my life today? You know, that runs deep, man. You can run real deep with that. I encourage that. Run as deep with that as you can. You know, the problem is probably you. The problem is me. Nobody forced me to marry her. Nobody forced me to stay with her. Nobody forced me to willfully buy her bullshit just to not hear it or to just get by. Nobody forced me to do that. Nobody forced me to allow myself to repeatedly be disrespected. I allowed all this. They're like vampires, you know. The idea that the vampire, you have to let them in when they knock on the door or whatever. That's how these people are. You have to let them in first. You know, you have to let them in. Don't let just anybody into your house. You got to use discernment. You know, because it could be God knocking on your door, or it could be the devil. Literally, it could be one of the. It could very well be one of the two. So you got to know. You got to keep your head up. Stay frosty.